just get out and hop on the ferry and just go from the Asian side to the European side and just enjoy the wonderful weather with the wonderful Bosphorus behind me and just enjoying the moment of Istanbul.
Istanbul is very beautiful with great culture.
This city is the symbol of diversity. Come and study at Maltepe University.
Come here and feel like you're home.
Hello everyone, sorry for technical issues again. Welcome to the first session of day one. I'm İlknur Madran and I am the moderator of this session. Firstly, I would like to invite Mr. Kutmeyuru Habibur Rahman from Sakarya University Faculty of Law to make his presentation titled Resolution of Human Rights Violation in Efforts to Build Peace in ASE. The floor is yours.
Hello everyone, can you hear me? I would like to share my screen first. Okay, I hope you can see my presentation. So I will begin it. First of all, I would like to thank for the committee who invited me to join this conference. I really appreciate this one, and this is the big opportunity for me to present my paper in Maltepe University. So my name is Cutmera Habibur Rahman. I'm from History Department at Sakarya University. I'm a last year student. I would like to present my paper on the title Resolution of Human Rights Violations in Effort to Build Peace in Aceh. So before we get starting, I need to explain the content of the presentation of this day. The first one is we have introductions, and the second one is problem of statement, and the third one is methodology, and the fourth one is experiment and result, and the last is conclusions. So before we go to explain about the conflict that happened in Aceh, we need to know, we must understand two things in understanding the cause of conflict and peace resolution in Aceh. First of all, we must understand why there has been a separatist rebellion in Aceh for almost 30 years and why appeasement agreements, MOU Helsinki in 2005 was reached. And the second one, we must understand the socio-economic indicator and development in Aceh post-conflicts and how the province of Aceh is developing compared to the other regions in Indonesia. So as you can see in the screens, you can see all the maps of Aceh province in Indonesia, and all the conflict happens mostly occur in the part of the capital of Aceh province in Banda Aceh, and the north side of the Aceh province in Biren, Pidijaya, and also in Aceh Utara. So, what is the cause of the conflicts? How the root of the problem that caused the conflict to occur need to be reviewed to be able to find a solution. Several things cause disappointment in region or region against the central government. The first one is dissatisfaction with the government performance. Ideas emerged to form a movement with a mission and vision related to competing with existing conditions in the bureaucracy and pre-existing orders. And the second one is political, social, economic, and cultural conditions that in some groups, opinions are not fair, and then they tend to be free and get out of the rules and choose to rebel against existing policy and want to be independent in their way. So in this case, in Aceh conflicts, there are both sides from Aceh movement, Aceh freedom movements, and Indonesian governments. The third one is understanding of belief tend to lead to the notions of separatisms, destroy and the existing values and moral and cause of divisions. So, why the victim needed after the conflicts? So, to put it simplify, there are three things that the victim right must fulfill. The first one is right to know. The right to know must be guaranteed all of the governments, because victims of human rights crimes and civil society have the right to know what happened in Aceh during the periods of the conflicts. In this case, the government must provide guarantees for the ongoing investigations carried out by government agencies and those carried out by non-governmental organizations. These conditions must also include guarantees for the existence and safety of witnesses and victims, preservation and access to various archives related to incidents of human rights crimes. And the second one is right to justice. Right to justice is guaranteed of justice with the two general principles are essential in the context of the right of justice, namely the protection of society forms, reconciliation efforts, and also forgiveness efforts aimed at perpetuating impunity and the state obligation to carry out the administration of justice. And the last one is the right of reparations. The third one is the guarantee of reparations for individual victims, included guarantees on restitutions, compensations, rehabilitations, and special measures if there are cases of forced disappearances. The right of reparations is also required to guarantee of measure of satisfactions and a guarantee of non-repetitions. In the case of Aceh, currently the discourse of non-repetitions is vital to promote and related to the many of violation of the administration justice. At the present, effort need to be made to replicate the martial laws policy and the abolition of the emergency courts. So in the screen, you can see the MOU Helsinki Agreement in 2005 between Indonesian and Aceh governments in Helsinki. The mediator of the agreement is also the Prime Minister of the Finland's Mahathir Ahtisaari, who come to become a mediator of the Indonesia and Aceh. And also we go to the problem statement of these presentations. The first one is there is impunity. The perpetrators of gross human rights violations should be able to investigate and prosecute and punish those responsible for human rights violations, and on the other hand, prevent victims and their families from enjoying the right to know the truth and restore their rights. So the word of impunity itself, it means of solely for severs of violation of a grave, systemic, and massive natural against human rights. So in United Nations Resolution number 22 on August 16, 2001 concerning international cooperations in the detention, arrest, extraditions, and punishment of persons guilty of war crimes against humanity. And the second one is there are several severs of human rights cases in Aceh that have not yet been resolved, such as the Gudung House case and the Bukit Tengkorak mass grave, and also the case of the KNPI buildings that the military court has processed, and the case of the ED Chut, the case of the Simpang KKA, and the case of Tengku Bantakia, and also the case of Rata volunteer case and Bumi Flora case, and several cases during the military emergency and civil emergency. So all of the cases that I mentioned before, until right now, is not solved yet, and I don't see the government itself have a good plan to solve these problems. So in these presentations, in this paper, in this research, I use several methods actually, but the most important things that I need to mention or my focus on in this issue is the peace bill in Aceh. So the resolution of case of gross of human rights violation in Aceh has yet to find a bright spot. Victims of past violence are still living in the midst of poverty and seeking impunity. And also the impact of the prolonged war had an impact on the physical and human development process in Aceh. Therefore, the purpose of this paper is to illustrate how much of the process of change toward peace and has been successful in Aceh after the conflict. The author used qualitative research methods with a focus on case study of the Aceh conflict in order to produce a comprehensive collection of data, process, and activities. And next one, about the experiment and result. According to Mel, in conflict resolutions, it's crucial to involve third parties for reasons. For example, in Aceh conflict, Indonesians used Finland as the mediator of the conflicts, because the first one, the reason why we need to use the third party is the existing global interdependence result in the need for a third party to intervene as the precautions so that the conflict doesn't spread to the country. The second is the sources of conflict are more than external factor. And the third one is there is an agreement from almost all conflict studies that protracted conflicts can only be resolved by involving external parties. And the fourth one is the cause of conflict in the form of humanitarian tragedy give outsiders have the legitimacy not to remain silent or intervene. So, about the conflict, the resolution of the conflict in Aceh, there is to demonstrate and uphold the idea of conflicts resolutions, which always set world standard with steadfastness to the following principle. There are six principles that we need to remember to solve the conflicts. The first one is impartiality. Impartiality, which is mean emphasis that the conflict resolution process cannot be said to be complete until each party involved in the conflict has their interest and is protected. And the second one is mutuality. Mutuality means it requires that each party involved must be open to be interventions and been seen as the positive step in conducting an interventions. And the third one is sustainability. So sustainability means that if the party going to intervene doesn't dare to work for the long times required to resolve of the conflicts, it's better never to intervene because apart from being useless, it will only add to the complexity of the conflicts. And the fourth one is the complementary. Complementary means or implies that if the resolutions of the conflict involve several intervening parties, and then each party must agree that the intervention they undertakes are complementary, reflects, and also hold the two motivations of the desires and goals of each party who want to resolve the conflict must be good. And the sixth one, the fifth is we need to must show that every situations or condition can get the same response. And the last one is accountability. It's mean to the relations between the intervened parties, including whomever they represents. Apart from being a sponsor, they must also be prepared for any risk or impact of conflicts. So the sixth point of the resolution of conflict, we need to put on the conflicts of Aceh to make the resolution of the conflicts happens. And so another experiment about the conflict resolution is reparations. Reparation means as the provide official state recognitions of victim rights by repairing the damage and suffering to individual and society caused by one or more serious human rights violations. The purpose of the program repair include first is fulfillment of restitutions, compensation, and rehabilitation rights. The second is build trust in the state and its ability to guarantee human rights. And the last one is contribute to sustainable peace. And what happened in Aceh as the result of the conflicts or the post-conflict, Aceh Commission was built in 2016 to try to conduct of the research on the conflict issue. So the Truth and Reconciliation Commission as a mandate from the Helsinki MOU in 2005 and a follow-up to the agreement, which was later outlined in the law on the government of Aceh, and also Indonesia Law, Point 11 of 2006. It's necessary to consider how the Indonesia government political commitment should respond to development in the recommendations of the Truth and Reconciliation Commissions in Aceh. So the Truth and Reconciliation Commissions provide reparations to individual and all groups after the truth-telling process. So what is the result of the taking statement related to human rights violation case by the KKR Aceh or the Truth Commission of Aceh between 2016 and 2021? We can see on the screen that the city, the most city or district in Aceh was taken as the realization of statement taking, and of the 5,794 forms that were issued, there are 5,264 had information and were verified, as many as 530 forms were declared damaged or cannot be retrieved for various reasons and conditions, and there are 12 regional information from victims. Their duty as the front line to collect information must, of course, be complemented by capacity building and knowledge of the regions. And about the conclusion, the resolution of cases of human rights violation in Aceh still requires a great effort. In addition, after the conflicts, Aceh is still hampered by uneven physical and human development. The survivors of human rights victims also live on the threshold of the poverty lines. The point of the peace agreement between Indonesia has also not been implemented properly. Therefore, it takes a strong effort from the government, state civil servants, and the community to jointly build a good Aceh in the future. So this is the reference I used for these presentations. If you have any questions regarding of my presentation, you can ask me. Thank you very much.
Thanks to Mr. Kutmuira for his presentation. Is there any question? Okay, thank you again.
This is the place to find yourself. Istanbul offers great universities and the lifestyle is really amazing here.
So I live at the dorms at Maltepe University and I'm really happy with it. There's a cleaning service every few days and then there's the library nearby which is open 24/7.
My first impression when I came was like, it's huge. You have everything in one place.
When you first come to Maltepe University, you don't know where what is and you're like, oh my God, I need help. Guess what? You're not alone. There is the international office people over there. They're like family. They're very helpful and they're always there for you.
Istanbul is the perfect mixture between ancient and modern. Coming into this city helps me discover myself, learn about so many different cultures, learning about the world, which will help me in writing future books.
At Maltepe University, we have a lot of research centers. Because of that, we have the ability to participate in a lot of international projects.
Here at Maltepe University, the education consists of both practical and theoretical. We get the opportunity to practice everything we learn in class in real life. So after we graduate, we have a degree and we can work all over the world.
People come to Istanbul all the time, but what they really miss when they visit are the antique shops, which contain thousands of years of memories and also a thread of the modern future.
I like to use every minute and just get out and hop on the ferry and just go from the Asian side to the European side and just enjoy the wonderful weather with the wonderful Bosphorus behind me and just enjoying the moment of Istanbul.
Istanbul is very beautiful with great culture.
This city is the symbol of diversity. Come and study at Maltepe University.
Come here and feel like you're home.
For the last presentation of our first session, I would like to invite Mrs. Dila Algan from Marmara University, Turkey. Titled The Role of the Veto in Promoting the Policy of Impunity, the floor is yours.
Hello, thank you very much. I hope my voice is okay. I will share my screen. I hope my share screen is okay too. Hello everyone, dear professors and dear participants. I would like to thank you very much to Maltepe University and to the organizing committee for this chance on this platform. I would like to start with my presentation. The headline of my paper is Evaluation of Migrant Crisis Through Sustainable Migration Governance, and I would like to discuss the sustainability of migration governance politics. For this, I would like to start with the link between sustainable governance and global migration. Migration governance basically aims to facilitate better, orderly, safe, regular, and responsible human mobility through well-managed migration policies. For this, firstly, these migration policies must comply with international law, such as international refugee law or international human rights law, and must respect migrants' rights. Secondly, these migration policies should cover all migrants, such as refugees, asylum seekers, economic migrants, forcibly displaced ones, and those under temporary protection. In this context, states should evaluate the migration data they obtain while constructing their migrant policies. Finally, these migration policies require the state to cooperate with other states, local communities, international organizations, intergovernmental organizations, non-governmental organizations, migrant committees, and diasporas. The multi-actor approach to international migration facilitates a broader and more comprehensive understanding of migration. In this context, a good and sustainable migration governance is aimed with these migration policies. With a good and sustainable migration governance, it is aimed to improve the socio-economic level of migrants and societies, to provide effective answers to migration crises, and better, safe, orderly, and regular migration. For example, the 2030 Agenda for Sustainable Development, published by the United Nations in 2015, sets an example in this regard. There are 17 goals in this agenda, and almost half of these 17 goals in this 2030 agenda mentions migration issue, such as human trafficking and violence, especially against women and children, safety of migrant workers, reliable data of migrants, and well-managed migration policies. The agenda highlights that, first of all, people like refugees, internally displaced people, and migrants must be empowered. Secondly, international community must cooperate to ensure safe and orderly migration with full respect of human rights. And thirdly, migrant workers, especially women migrants especially women migrants must be protected from precarious employment and promoted informal employment. Thus, while providing good migration governance, it also supports sustainable development. However, while the United Nations targets these goals until 2030, politics of migration transformed globally in 2015 with the arrival of Syrian migrants on the European borders. The crisis, which started with nearly 1 million irregular migrants trying to enter the European Union through Turkey, entered the political agenda by affecting regional and global actors, as well as the states in the region. While global migration governance tries to promote regular and safe migration and make it sustainable, the actors of migration governance are shaken by the 2015 migrant crisis. The 2015 migrant crisis is actually a crisis arising from the unstable situation of Syrian migrants who entered Turkey from Syria in 2011 and were placed under temporary protection trying to cross into Europe. This migrant crisis has been tried to be managed both by the states in the region and by regional and global initiatives. As states actor in the region, Turkey prevented the dangerous passages of migrants from Turkey to Greece, and Greece registered irregular migrants coming to Greek islands and provided them with first reception support. Greece tried to deal with this crisis of irregular migrants mostly with the support of the European Union. On the one hand, the European Union, as a regional actor, provided financial aid to Greece and Turkey, and on the other hand, it organized the relocation schema for migrants coming to the European Union. The United Nations, one of the global actors, made efforts to regulate the living conditions of migrants in the region through UNHCR. Apart from national, regional, and global actors, many non-state actors were also involved in the management of this crisis. These non-state actors include United Nations agencies, European Union agencies, development banks, national and international non-governmental organizations, including humanitarian and religious organizations, and private companies. Therefore, looking at the diversity of actors, it can be seen that more actors are coming together in the field of global migration governance than ever before. However, many of the attempts of these actors were inadequate and incomplete, because when we look at the state level, national level, Greece was unprepared for such a migration crisis. Its bureaucracy and administrative capacity were insufficient. Therefore, it has come under a lot of criticism for the lack of policies to manage migration flows and violates the human rights of migrants. On the other hand, Turkey was also criticized for not taking adequate security measures at its borders and allowing migrants to cross into Greece. When we look at the regional level, as regional actor, the European Union has allocated significant budgets to many international organizations, non-governmental organizations, and states in the region. On the other hand, the European Union, together with Turkey, signed a statement that the migrants who came to the Greek islands will be sent back to Turkey. In addition, the European Union set aside a fund for the improvement of the living conditions of Syrian refugees in Turkey, and also allocated a substantial budget to Greece to improve the situation of migrants staying on the Greek islands. In addition to all these, the member states of the European Union accepted a number of refugees to their countries. But however, the European Union generally has not been able to establish a collaboration and harmony in this migrant crisis. Many European Union member states have not implemented the migrant relocation schema, and a few states have not even accepted migrants into their countries. This has brought into question the founding values of the European Union, such as solidarity, democracy, equality, dignity, and respect for human rights. Finally, when we look at the global level, since there is no international binding regime and uniform institutional body in global migration governance, this crisis was mainly managed through the cooperation of the United Nations with the European Union within the scope of global migration governance. In this case, in order for the global migration governance to be sustainable and to achieve the goals aforementioned at the beginning, an international binding regime must first exist. Unless there is an international binding regime, global migration governance will be managed at regional and national rather than global levels. In this case, the initiative that each state takes on its own during periods of increased irregular migration and crisis among international migration flows may be harmful to the human rights of migrants. Every state may resort to uncontrollable security measures at its borders, as it will want to dominate over its own borders and control the people entering and leaving its country. Especially at points where irregular migration flows turn into a migrant crisis, states invest more in border management and security tools due to economic and security concerns. The most affected by this situation are the migrants who want to cross the border. Therefore, an international binding regime is required at the point of managing irregular migrant crisis. In addition, this regime is important in terms of compliance with international refugee law and international human rights law and accountability. On the other hand, in order for global migration governance to be sustainable, the reasons behind international migration, namely root causes of migration, should be looked at. These reasons can be listed as wars, internal conflicts, and forced displacements caused by some factors such as poverty, unemployment, forced migration, environmental degradation, and underdevelopment. In order for migration governance to be sustainable and to prevent migrant crisis, it is necessary to dig deeper into the root causes and therefore examine the inequalities between the global north and the global south. Thank you for your attention. I will close my screen. My presentation, I completed my presentation. Thank you for your attention. If there are any questions, I'd like to answer them. Thank
you. Okay. Thanks to Mrs. Dila Algan for her presentation. Is there any question? Okay. We would like to thank our participants for their presentations in the first session of the Congress. At this point, we will continue with the second session of the day at 1:30 p.m. See you. Thank you.